What is up, YouTube? This is Keller11 here, also known as the University of Ethan Everhart, and I had hoped this week to be playing Oxygen Not Included, but unfortunately the power supply was ordered was dead on arrival. We literally plugged it into the wall, and still nothing. The fan didn't even turn on, so yeah, still without a computer, which has been a bit of an eye-opener. I always thought I didn't have that much free time, but having now had a couple 4 weeks now without the computer, I've been amazed at how much free time I actually do have on my hands. I knew I spent too much time on the computer, but this is like, wow, I really do spend too much time on the computer. So I've had time to kind of tackle some other things. Well, I've had time. I haven't necessarily done much with that time, but one of the things I've been doing is playing a few old board games, which leads to, I guess, the question of the week here. What is your favorite board game? Normally I like to answer the questions I ask, but I don't really have an answer to that one. Of course, I mean, there's the classics, Monopoly, Stratego, Risk. Those are games I really enjoy, but I don't know if I can pinpoint really a favorite board game. Though I guess I do have three that I can think of that are kind of not like part of the mainstream, or like the games that everyone knows. I guess those would be, if I was to pick off three that I've really kind of enjoyed, I would say there's a game called Scotland Yard, a game called Robot Rally, and then finally Time Stories. All are really kind of fun games, at least for me they are. To go over real quick, Scotland Yard is, the way that game is played is, well, the basic premise is you either play as Mr. X or the detectives trying to find him. You play in what I assume is Scotland. I don't know my geography over there, but it's in that region, and there's a big map that has different cities, and the transportations are taxis, buses, or train stops. And let's say you're playing as Mr. X. Let's go with that example. If you're playing as Mr. X, your job is to escape from the detectives. There are between two to four of them. Mr. X is hidden on the board. The detectives don't know where he is. And the only clues that they get is the different modes of transportation he uses. Now, not every city has a train stop. Not every city has a bus stop. Most cities have a taxi, place to pick up a taxi from. And so the detectives only see the modes of transportation that Mr. X uses. And so based on those clues, they have to try and figure out where he is. So for example, if he uses a train stop, it means, okay, now, you may be wondering, well, why would you use a train stop? The train stop takes you the farthest, but it is the more rarer option. Likewise, with a bus stop, it's a little more rare than a train stop, but it's a little less more common than a train stop. So if you're in a bind, you need to get out of there really quickly. You can take a train stop somewhere else, but it does make it easier for the detective to know where you are. Now, you're not hidden the entire game. I think it's every 5 turns, you then reveal yourself, and then the detective is like, are either like, we're right on your trail, or, oh, shoot, you are way on the other side of the map. And I believe you have 30 turns for either you to escape or for the detectives to find you. And it's a rather fun game. As I said, yeah, they're trying to escape detectives. You use different different modes of transportation to get away. It's a fun game. Robot Rally, then, is, I think, a little more simple to explain, a little more complicated to play. But the idea is you pick one of 8 robots, and your objective is to get from point A to point B while avoiding all the obstacles in the path. Obstacles including conveyor belts, pitfalls, lasers, pushers, and gears. Oh, and the other robots. But that's the fun of it. So the way the game is played is it's played on a grid path, and you are, in the beginning, given 9 movement cards. Which will be either like a move forwards 3, move forwards 2, move forwards 1, back up 1, a rotate left, rotate right, or make a U-turn. You're going to choose 5 of the 9 cards you're dealt, and use those to program into your robot to try and get as close to point B as possible. moving kind of one grid space at a time, or again, move forward 3 or moving 3 grid spaces. But you get the point. You're moving by one program at a time, and you use it to try and avoid all the different, like the lasers, the conveyor belts and stuff, and just try to get to point B. Simultaneously, all the other robots you're playing with are also trying to do this, which means you're all trying to get to a common point, so inevitably you will collide with other robots. And this is where the fun happens. When you collide with another robot, it doesn't matter if it knocks you off track. You have to continue following the programs that you've programmed in. So you could have been arriving at point B. You could have your plan could have put you right there, but if you get knocked off track, you're now suddenly about like 5 spaces away instead, or maybe have gone spiraling into a pit. So it's a lot of fun to see just how much chaos can ensue from that. Unfortunately, the more flags there are, the less chaos there is, because inevitably some robots fall behind. But if there's only a few flags, it's a lot of fun just to see them all kind of crashing into each other, seeing them getting... Or, more commonly, it's like, oh shoot, I thought I was supposed to rotate left, not rotate right. Whoops, now I'm going completely the wrong direction. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. At least for me it is. Then the one I've had actually the most fun with is a game called Time Stories, which is a puzzle board game, which is a little not something I really realized was a category, but once I describe the game, and if any of you know games that are similar to it, please let me know in the comments below as well if you know of any other kind of puzzle board games. This one is a Time Stories. It has a base game that has I think 6 or 7 expansions to it. It's really intricate. And by intricate, I don't mean necessarily complicated, although you could argue it's complicated as well. But the level of detail, the level of the amount of content they pack into every story, it feels like almost video game level. The idea is that, the framing device used for the game is that you work for a time travel agency, and each expansion is a different story. You're sent back in time to try and prevent some sort of temporal anomaly or, time travel stuff. The first expansion we call the Asylum, where you're supposed to be sent back in time to prevent some kind of demonic, satanic ritual or something, but basically something they shouldn't be doing. The second one is called the Marcy Case, where basically it's Terminator 2. You're sent back in time to save this child who's been kidnapped. You're supposed to save her from getting killed in a zombie apocalypse. And they clarify, the reason you're not sent back in time before she was kidnapped is because she's going to become very important in the future. Her kidnapping is what makes her important. So you can't stop her. You're not supposed to stop her from being kidnapped. You're just supposed to save her after she's been kidnapped, but before she gets killed by the zombies. It's really cool. And then the third one that we just recently played is called Prophecy of the Dragon, which is basically just stop some temporal shit. People are dealing with stuff that they shouldn't be dealing with, and put a stop to them. But the way the game is played, it's really well laid out in the sense that you start off with 4 map fragments, and by that I mean there are 4 cardboard rectangles that you place down on the board, and that represents the map. And on that map will be different locations you can visit, and each location is represented by its own set of cards that will lay out on the back of the card. It'll lay out, here's kind of what's on this location, and then you can interact with different locations to get clues about what's going on in the event. You can talk to people in there, and they'll have for example, you'll talk to the priest and you'll say, oh yes, so and so, this is happening, here, take this item, and they'll say, take item number 46, which is represented in a stack of cards. And that item could be a newspaper. It gives you clues about what's going on, or it could be a helpful item to use later on. And there are all of them, and hidden in them are usually context clues about what's going on, where you should be going, and it is. The ultimate goal again is to figure out. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but the game itself is that you have a limited amount of time to solve these cases in. everything you do in the game costs an action point, and you're with a limited amount of action points to be able to solve the case in. The game is a lot of fun. However, it is a puzzle game, which means that once you solve the puzzle, unfortunately, the replayability of it immediately drops off. But I suppose, and I've now noticed a common trend with the game, is that there is like one main big puzzle that you have to solve, but there are multiple paths to get to that puzzle. And that's how the fun of it is finding the way. Solving the puzzle is fun once, and only once. Getting to the puzzle is what's most fun. And it's absolutely fantastic. I love the game just because of the amount of puzzle solving there is in there. I mean, there's not like a lot of puzzle solving, but getting to... I've played through a couple of them several times, and there's still content I haven't unlocked yet because I didn't have the right character in the right place. It's amazing how much content they can put into that game. So if anyone knows of any other kind of puzzle board games, well, again, question today is what's your favorite board game? But if anyone knows of any other puzzle games, puzzle board games, leave them in the comments down below. I would love to play some more. Anyways, I think that'll about do it for this week. Hopefully, crossing my fingers here. You can't see it, but I am crossing my fingers. Hopefully, next week we'll have the proper working power supply, and we'll be able to get back to Oxygen Not Included. I've got plans, but only time will tell. And well, hopefully I'll see you guys then. Hopefully it'll be next week. But in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.